Before we begin, let us return to stillness. Allow your body to settle wherever you are. There is no need to change anything. Just notice that you are here. Take one slow breath in and gently let it go. The mind may still be moving. That is natural. Do not force it to stop. Simply allow awareness to rest beneath the movement. Feel the quiet that is already present behind thoughts. This series is not about information alone. It is about returning to a steady heart. So before we speak of mantra, before we explore meaning, we begin here, in silence. In each episode, we return to this space, a space that is simple, unforced, clear, not dramatic, not mystical, just present. The Great Compassion teachings are not meant to overwhelm the mind. They are meant to soften it. As you sit here, notice the gentle rhythm of your breathing. Notice the natural weight of your body. Nothing extraordinary is happening. And yet, this quiet awareness is already a form of protection. Because when the mind is grounded, it does not collapse easily. Or let this steadiness be the ground for what we will explore today. In the previous episode, we explored the 15 avoided deaths and the 15 blessed births. We saw that these teachings are not only about physical events. They describe inner states: death by hatred, death by fear, death by despair, death by confusion, and rebirth into clarity, stability, supportive conditions, and awakening. Protection, we learned, is not only about escaping danger. It is protection from inner collapse. It is the preservation of clarity and dignity in the midst of life. Well, that was the foundation. But the sutra does not stop there. It now turns our attention to something deeper. After speaking of protection and rebirth, Avalokiteshvara does not promise more blessings. Instead, he speaks the mantra itself. This marks a turning point. Until now, we have heard about the results. Now we encounter the source. What is this great compassion mantra? Is it sacred sound? Is it mystical power? Is it divine intervention? Or is it something more intimate? The sutra shifts from what does it give to what is it? This is where understanding matures. If we only focus on outcomes, we remain dependent. But if we understand essence, practice becomes stable. Today we move from protection to the heart behind protection, from outer promise to inner alignment. And now, we enter the sacred moment when Avalokiteshvara stands before the assembly and proclaims the Great Compassion Mantra. Having spoken thus, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva stood before the assembly, joined his palms, stood upright, and with a gentle smile proclaimed the wondrous, vast, perfect, and unobstructed Great Compassion Heart, Dhāraṇī. Nilakantha Dhāraṇī. Namo Ratnatrayaya. Namah Arya Avalokiteshvaraya. Bodhisattvaya. Mahasattvaya. Mahā Karuṇikaya. Om Sarvarabhaya. Sudhanadashe Namaskartva Imam. Arya Avalokiteshvara. Ramdhava. Namo Narakindi. Hrih Mahavadhasama. Sarva Athadu. Shubhum Ajayam. Sarva Sattva Nama. Vastya Namo. Vaka Marga Dhatu. Tadyatha. Om Avaloki. Lokate Karate. Hrih Mahabodhisattva. Sarva Sarva. Mala Mala. Mahima. Hardayam. Kuru Kuru. Karmum. Dhuru Dhuru. Vijayate. Mahavijayate. Dhara Dhara. Dhirinishvaraya. Kala Kala. Mama Vamara. Muktele. Ehi Ehi. Shina Shina. Arasam Pratsali. Visa Visam. Prashaya. Huru Huru. Mara Hulu Hulu. Hrih Sara Sara. Siri Siri. Suru Suru. Bodhiya Bodhiya. Bodhaya Bodhaya, Maitriya, Narakindi, Dharsinina Bhayamana, Swaha, Siddhaya, Swaha, Mahasiddhaya, Swaha, Siddhayogeshvaraya, Swaha, Narakindi, Swaha, Maranara, Swaha, Shira Samha Mukaya, Swaha, Sarva Maha Asiddhaya, Swaha, Kakra Asiddhaya, Swaha, Padma Hastaya, Swaha, Narakindi Vagaraya, Swaha, Mavari Shankaraya, Swaha, Namah Ratnatrayaya, Namo Avalokiteshvaraya, Swaha, Om Siddhayantu, Mantra Padaya, Swaha. When the Bodhisattva finished proclaiming the mantra, the earth trembled 6 times. Heavenly flowers rained down from the sky. Buddhas throughout the 10 directions rejoiced. Heavenly beings were filled with joy. Even Mara and the followers of distorted views trembled in fear. Within the great assembly, many attained realization. Some attained the fruit of stream entry, some the fruit of once-returner, some the fruit of non-returner. Some attained arhatship. Others realized the first bhumi, and the second, the third, the fourth, the 5th, up to the 10th. Countless beings awakened the mind of Bodhi. The mantra was not merely heard, it shifted consciousness. When the sutra describes Avalokiteshvara standing before the assembly with palms joined and a gentle smile, it is not only describing a physical gesture, it reveals a state of consciousness. Joined palms symbolize the union of wisdom and compassion. Standing upright represents clarity and stability of mind. And the gentle smile reflects the natural ease of one who understands the suffering of the world, yet is not overwhelmed by it. In this moment, the mantra is not introduced as magic, and it is offered as an expression of awakened compassion. The Great Compassion mantra is called a heart Dhāraṇī because it gathers the essence of compassion into sound. The sound itself is not the ultimate power. The real power is the consciousness from which the sound arises. When compassion becomes steady in the mind, every word, every action, and even silence can become a form of this mantra. You may notice that the mantra is preserved in Sanskrit. Unlike the rest of the sutra, it is rarely translated. This is intentional. Mantras function differently from ordinary language. A sentence conveys meaning through concepts. A mantra conveys meaning through vibration. The ancient tradition understood that certain sound patterns can calm the nervous system, steady attention, and guide the mind toward deeper stillness. But even here, the sutra invites us to look deeper. The sound alone is not enough. If the mind is distracted, angry, or mechanical, the mantra becomes only repetition. But when the heart is sincere, the mantra becomes a rhythm that gathers the mind. Gradually, the breath slows, the mind settles, and compassion begins to arise naturally. In this way, the mantra becomes a bridge between sound and awareness. When the sutra says the earth trembles 6 times and flowers rain from the sky, it is speaking in symbolic language. Earth here is the ground of identity, the sense of me we stand on. When compassion becomes powerful, that ground shakes. Old patterns lose certainty. The nervous system, once locked in survival, begins to reorganize. Fear-based habits weaken. Defensive strategies loosen. The mind can feel this as a trembling, not outside but inside. And the flowers? Flowers symbolize what naturally arises when the mind is no longer contracted. When the heart opens, beauty becomes visible again, not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because perception becomes clear. In energetic terms, compassion expands the field. A contracted field feels harsh and unsafe. An expanded field feels spacious and protected. So, flowers raining points to the spontaneous appearance of lightness, meaning, gratitude, and hope. the subtle blessings that arise when we return to alignment. This is why the sutra uses miracle imagery. Not to demand belief in fantasy, but to describe a deep inner shift. When compassion stabilizes, the inner world changes. And when the inner world changes, life is met differently. That is the living miracle of the Dhāraṇī. The sutra tells us that many in the assembly attained realization. Some entered the first stage of awakening. Some advanced further along the path. Others awakened the mind of Bodhi. At first glance, this may seem extraordinary. How could a single proclamation lead so many beings to awakening? The sutra is pointing to something subtle. Transformation does not happen because a teaching is powerful. It happens when the mind becomes ready. In that moment, the mantra was not heard as ordinary sound. It was received by a mind that had become quiet, receptive, and deeply attentive. When the mind is scattered, even profound teachings pass through unnoticed. But when the mind becomes still, even a single phrase can open a new dimension of understanding. The mantra in this moment served as a catalyst. It gathered the attention of the assembly. It softened the habitual defenses of the mind. It opened a space of sincerity. And within that openness, insight naturally appeared. This is why the sutra repeatedly reminds us that recitation alone is not enough. Without compassion, the mantra remains sound. But when compassion becomes genuine, the mantra becomes a doorway to awakening. Why does repeating a mantra sometimes soften the heart and open compassion? The answer lies not only in belief, but in the nature of the mind. Normally, the mind runs constantly, thinking, planning, judging, reacting to every stimulus. When a mantra is repeated slowly, the mind is given a simple rhythm. Breath follows sound. Attention gathers. Gradually, the stream of thoughts begins to slow. In this quieter state, something natural appears. Compassion. Not because we force ourselves to feel kind, but because the defensive patterns of the mind begin to relax. Anger loses intensity. Fear loosens its grip. And when these tensions soften, the heart's natural sensitivity can emerge. In Buddhist language, this is called compassion. But in universal language, it is simply the moment when we feel another being's suffering as something that matters. But what about those who do not chant mantras? Can compassion still grow? Absolutely. The sutra itself never limits compassion to one practice. Mantra is only one doorway. Another doorway is simple awareness. When a person pauses before reacting in anger, compassion has already begun. When someone listens instead of immediately judging, compassion is present. When we recognize that every human being carries hidden struggles, our responses soften. The heart opens naturally. Some people arrive at compassion through meditation, some through prayer, some through caring for others, and some through quiet reflection. The path may look different, but the destination is the same. A mind that understands suffering becomes less harsh, and a heart that understands suffering cannot help but become more compassionate. So, how does the Great Compassion mantra relate to modern life? Most of us today are not facing the dangers described in ancient scriptures, but we face something else. Mental exhaustion, constant pressure, anxiety about the future, and the quiet loneliness that many people carry inside. In this environment, the mantra becomes a moment of returning, not escaping the world, but pausing within it. A few minutes of chanting or silent repetition can slow the rhythm of the mind. Breathing deepens, our thoughts soften. The nervous system begins to settle. In that quiet space, compassion has room to appear, not as an ideal, but as a natural response. We become slightly less reactive, slightly more patient, slightly more understanding. And sometimes that small shift is enough to change the direction of a day. Practicing compassion does not require special conditions. It begins in very ordinary moments. When a colleague speaks harshly, we pause instead of immediately reacting. When a family member is difficult, we remember that they too carry unseen struggles. When we make a mistake, we speak to ourselves with kindness instead of harsh judgment. These small moments are where compassion actually grows. The mantra supports this process, not by forcing kindness, but by calming the mind enough to see clearly. And when we see clearly, we begin to understand that everyone we meet is trying to navigate their own suffering. From that understanding, compassion naturally appears, not as effort, but as the most intelligent response to the human condition. Ultimately, the Great Compassion Mantra is not only about sound, it is about remembering the quality of the heart from which the sound arises. A person may chant beautifully yet remain impatient with others. Another may never chant a mantra yet live with deep kindness. The sutra gently reminds us that the true power of the mantra appears when compassion becomes genuine. Recitation supports the practice, but daily life reveals the result. When compassion grows, our speech softens, our reactions slow down, and our understanding of others deepens. In this way, the mantra becomes more than words. It becomes a way of living, a way of meeting suffering with patience, a way of meeting confusion with clarity, and a way of walking through the world with a heart that remains open. Before we end, let us take a quiet moment together. If it feels comfortable, allow your body to relax. Let the shoulders soften. Let the breath become natural. There is nothing you need to achieve in this moment. Simply notice the movement of breathing. Breathing in, the body gently expands. Breathing out, the body releases. Allow the mind to settle naturally. Thoughts may still appear. This is completely normal. You do not need to push them away. Just let them pass like clouds moving slowly through the open sky. With each breath, the mind becomes a little quieter, and in this quiet space, the heart begins to soften. Now gently bring to mind the simple truth that every human being carries some form of suffering. Some suffer from fear, some from loneliness, some from illness, some from worries about the future. Even those who appear strong often carry hidden pain. Allow this understanding to open the heart slightly. You do not need to force compassion. Just recognize that every life you encounter is navigating its own challenges. And in that recognition, a natural kindness may begin to appear. So compassion is not weakness. It is the courage to remain open in a world where suffering exists. And when the heart remains open, wisdom can guide our actions. If you wish, you may now allow the Great Compassion Mantra to arise gently in the mind. There is no need to chant loudly. You may simply repeat it silently with the rhythm of the breath. Om. Let the sound move slowly through awareness, not as effort, but as a gentle reminder of compassion. If the mantra feels unfamiliar, that is perfectly fine. You may simply rest in the feeling of kindness, breathing in, softness, breathing out, release. In this moment, nothing else is required. Just a quiet mind and a heart that remains open. As we slowly return to the present moment, remember this simple truth. The power of the mantra does not come from mysterious forces. It grows from the sincerity of the heart. Every moment we choose patience instead of anger. Every moment we choose understanding instead of judgment. The spirit of the Great Compassion is already alive. Whether through mantra, through meditation, or through simple kindness in daily life, the path remains the same. A mind that becomes clear, a heart that remains gentle, and a life guided by compassion. May your practice be steady, may your heart remain open, and may compassion continue to grow within you.